So, hello everyone, and welcome back. I think some of you guys have tuned in for the rest of this week, but welcome to session 8 of ECO Week 2024, and especially to our session today, the Youth Voice at the UN. So firstly, I'm sure you guys have heard this, but I'm just going to introduce ECO-UNESCO really quick. So we were founded in 1986 by a group of young people, and our aim is to empower the young people who are involved with us to protect our environment. ECO-UNESCO is proud to be one of UNESCO's affiliated clubs and a Sustainable Development Goals ambassador. So that's why we linked Eco Week this week in with the SDGs week as well. So to kick us off before I go in to talking about our amazing speaker, if you guys can just let me know where you're tuning in from and then how many of you are participating, and then we will get started. So today's session is all about SDG 10, which is reduce inequalities. And here we're going to have Mohammad take over in a second. So he's going to talk all about basically being inspired by youth activism. And he is the youngest ever UN youth delegate. And then he's going to share his insight into becoming that youth voice. So that's basically what all ECO-UNESCO is about. And he has firsthand experience. And then he's going to talk about just promoting peace and justice as well. So if you guys do have any questions, pop them into the chat throughout the session, or raise your hand or unmute yourself. So Mohammad, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. I will share my slides now.
Perfect.
Yeah, can you see those okay?
Yeah. Yeah, you're all good to go. Yeah.
All right. So hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me firstly. So my name is Mohammad Naeem, and I was the United Nations Youth Delegate for Ireland last year. And essentially what that meant was I represented young people in Ireland at the United Nations conferences in New York and Rome. I got to travel quite a bit last year, and now this year, or this September, I started my law degree in UCC. Um, so who am I? Just kind of to give you a little bit of background about who I am. I'm 19 years old, and as I just said, I just started my law degree in UCC, um, and I'm from the lovely county of Mayo. So it's a bit of a trek from Cork. So I don't go home every weekend. But I've been involved with a load of different youth organizations. I really got involved in transition year when everything went online. When kind of being a rural student, there's not that many opportunities presented. So when everything went online, I kind of got the opportunity to join loads of different groups, and kind of that's how my journey started. And today I'm just going to be speaking to you about kind of my experiences at the United Nations as a youth delegate, how you guys can get involved, and then I'll answer some of your guys' questions. So, what is the United Nations? I'm sure you've heard the term United Nations a lot, especially this past year with everything going on across the world. But it's essentially one place where the world's nations, so all the countries across the world, come together and discuss common problems and try to come up with solutions. It was founded in 1945, and almost all countries are member states. So right now, there's 193 member states of the United Nations, and the main goal is world peace. Ireland joined the UN in 1955, and that is just the United Nations logo. And the United Nations can seem like this far away concept, but I really hope it really isn't. So I really hope through by the end of this, you are more familiar with the United Nations and how you can get involved as well. So where is the United Nations? Because it's meant to be representative of the whole world. There is United Nation building all across kind of the world regions essentially. So the headquarters is in New York, and then there is one in Kenya, Switzerland, and Austria. I've gotten to travel to the one in New York and in Geneva. But there's one in Nairobi, Kenya, and Vienna, Austria as well. And this is to ensure that the UN is accessible, because not everyone can travel to New York, but they might be able to travel to Geneva or Nairobi. So it's all about accessibility. So last year, this was in September, the Irish mission to the United Nations. So Ireland has an amazing team of diplomats, a very big team of diplomats that work in New York representing Ireland at the United Nations on a daily basis on a range of different issues. Although we're quite a small country, we have a massive international presence, and Ireland is so well respected on an international level, which is really nice that our small little island has so much kind of influence on an international level. Um, and that's the bottom picture is me with Ireland's ambassador to the United Nations, for Gilmaiden. He's extremely nice, and it was great working alongside him. And then that is the view from the ambassador's office. It looks out to the UN and the river. So hopefully it'll be one of our offices in the future. Who knows? But I think we all want that view for our future offices. Um, so how did I become the United Nations Youth Delegate? I kind of touched on a little bit of this already, but I kind of want to go into it into more detail. So as I was growing up, I was always engaging with politics. Essentially that means is I was just keeping up with current affairs, well, reading the news, or just keeping up with what was happening in Ireland and kind of internationally. And I kind of just did that by reading the news, or we see so much of our news on TikTok these days as well. So just engaging with that, and keeping up to date with everything was happening. But public speaking is another thing. I used to be extremely shy. Like I only really gained my confidence from transition year, like first to third year. I don't even think I would ask a question in class. But it's just about taking the first step and putting yourself out there. Because once you do it once, you become so much more confident. And don't be afraid to. You have nothing to lose. I joined lots of different youth organizations. My very first one was actually one of the first ones was ECO-UNESCO, where I learned about the Sustainable Development Goals for the very first time. And that's what really kind of got me involved with my journey with sustainability. So that's where I got to learn about the Sustainable Development Goals. And I hope some of you have already learned about the Sustainable Development Goals, either from different youth organizations or from your class in school. I also did kind of volunteering and community work and activism. They're all kind of extremely linked in with each other. In my secondary school, I was heavily involved with like the Green Schools Committee and the Student Council. And then just being open to answering questions is really important as well. But the main thing I would say from all of these is following my passions. I did what I enjoyed. I kind of got involved and worked on issues that I was passionate about. And you can really become a change maker or try to enact change through music, sports, arts. There's so many different things. So don't feel like from listening to me, you have to follow my path or singular path. There's so many different paths. And I think that's really important to keep in mind. That you should all just really follow your passions, because then you'll actually enjoy what you are doing. If you are trying to make change, or if you want to kind of work in this field, I think following your passions is really important. So background in activism, I touched on this. These are just a few pictures. So I was involved with Corlin and Oak as well, which is an amazing organization in every county. They're local youth councils. I'm sure some of you have heard of them already. They usually have their like annual meetings where anyone can like put themselves forward to join during autumn time. So I'm sure they'll be coming up soon. So definitely look into that if you want to get involved with that. You can work on a range of issues. And then I was heavily involved with the Irish Second Level Students Union. So we represented students, secondary school students, all over Ireland last. I was deputy president last year, so I'm finished up now, but that was another organization I was heavily involved with. And in the Irish Second Level Students Union as well, if you're kind of more into the student politics side of things, they also have their regional councils coming up as well. They happen every autumn in every county. So if you're interested, definitely look up it on their website, on the ISSU's website. So they're just some of the things. If you are interested, you can keep those in mind. So at the UN, at the United Nations, the official way of young people being heard is the Youth Delegate Program. And me and my co-delegate Alicia, we organize a reception.
Mohammed, sorry, it looks like your AirPods might have connected to your laptop.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, perfect. Fire ahead.
Yeah. So there's youth delegates from across the world, and mostly they're from European countries. So with me and my co-delegate really try to increase representation from the global south. And the global south, if that's the first time you're hearing that term, is it mainly consists of regions from Latin America, the global, or not global south, but the African region as well. And a lot of the issues that we're discussing, like climate, affect those regions more, and they're not in the room. So it's really important that we have representation. So that's the only thing I would say about kind of the youth delegate program. But it's an amazing opportunity. So what are the sustainable development goals? So what are these 17 goals, or what are these goals that everyone keeps talking about? Essentially, Ireland and Kenya were the creators of these 17 global goals. Those Ambassador David and that's the Kenyan ambassador, they were the two ambassadors that were leading the discussions at the time. And you can imagine like trying to agree on one thing within your class, or even the person beside you on one thing can be so difficult. Ireland and Kenya got 193 countries to agree on these 17 goals. And at the United Nations, that is such a difficult task because every country has such different kind of values and morals and like different ways of thinking. So it's very difficult to get anything or all countries to agree at the UN. But Ireland successfully did that alongside with Kenya, and we got these 17 goals, which were introduced in 2015. Um, and they're so broad, and they can, sorry, they're so broad. They kind of really cover everything. But unfortunately, because of everything that's happening in the world and then the pandemic, we are behind on a lot of these goals, and it is unlikely that we will achieve them all by 2030. But it's important that us as young people we're educated about them and how we as individuals can kind of work towards these 17 goals. So there's no poverty, there's SDG 13 is climate action, and then SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. So I want you to have a think about an issue and link it to the sustainable development goals. You can discuss it with the person beside you, if you're in your classroom, or just have a think to yourself. So, for example, what is dirty water? What SDG would dirty water link to? Affordable food, sustainable food as well. So I just want you to think about an issue and link it to the sustainable development goals. And I'll give you a minute to do that. You can discuss it with the person beside you, but it's just to get you thinking, because sometimes we see everything as kind of far removed from us. But if you really think about day-to-day examples, even kind of homelessness in Ireland, that relates to no poverty. So they're all very linked to daily issues that we kind of see or experience, but we just don't realize it. So I hope you've all thought of one by now, but we will move on. So in September in 2023, every year at the United Nations, there is a summit. And there's a new theme every year. So this year, currently happening right now, it's the Summit of the Future, and they're discussing kind of everything about future generations and everything to do with the future essentially. But last year, while I was over there, it was a Sustainable Development Goals Summit, and it was to mark the midpoint to 2030. So 2023 was the midpoint to 2030, and all the countries got together basically to just reaffirm their commitment to achieving these goals and kind of just get their acts together essentially, because every country is so far behind on these
And
goals.
if it doesn't work, then we'll okay.
So I got the opportunity to meet Mary Robinson as well, who's the former president, the first female president of Ireland as well, and who has a very strong presence at the United Nations. And she has her own foundation called the Elders. So that was the Sustainable Development Goals Summit last year. And while we were over there as well, the General Assembly, there's a week called High Level Week, and it's where all the world leaders come together. And this is where we kind of did when we met with the Taoiseach at the time, Leo Varadkar, Taoiseach as well, and we got to meet the Minister for Health, the Minister for Climate. We met with, we did online outreach to kind of get opinions from young people in Ireland on the issues they want us to raise with these decision makers. And we discussed student accommodation. That's a big one for young people going into college. We spoke about climate action, public transport, especially in rural areas. We spoke about education as well. We spoke about vote at 16. So there's a huge range of issues that we spoke about with them. And we essentially just we kind of printed those pages out and published them on our social media and handed them to the politicians, because we wanted to really represent young people in Ireland and ensure that we kind of are doing our job rather than just kind of being there. And oftentimes politicians can use young people as tokens and just take the picture with the young person, and not actually discuss anything. So we really wanted to do that. And we had great meetings where all the ministers were actually really receptive. So that was another thing we got up to while I was over there. And we also got to, this was a huge thing for us as well. We got to speak on behalf of Ireland at the United Nations. And we spoke at the UN Third Committee, which kind of deals with social, cultural, and humanitarian issues. And we discussed kind of climate, racism in Ireland and across the world, and just kind of human rights in general as well. And before we went to New York in September, we met with different kind of youth groups, and we did a lot of online outreach to get the views of young people in Ireland. And this year we have two new amazing youth delegates. We're currently in New York right now, representing us. These are just some events we organized as well as youth delegates. So we had the reception, and then we held the side events as well on digital technology. So how digital technology, I'm sure us as young people, we are always on our phones, and we've seen how how TikTok, how just online platforms can be such a tool for hatred as well now. They're such amazing tools as well, to kind of express yourself, express your creative side, and just kind of use. But they can also, there can be lots of different harmful aspects as well. So we had a side event on that, and it was very linked into SDG 10, reduced inequalities, because when I was announced as the UN Youth Delegate, I received a lot of online racial abuse. So it was kind of to highlight that as well, and how it's increasing more and more in our societies, which is not good, because we are going backwards, and we should only be going forward. So we had an amazing side event. Side event is just a fancy word that people at the UN use for just a normal event. So if you hear me say that, that's all it means. But yeah, there's also SDG 2. So this is Sustainable Development Goal 2, Zero Hunger. So this UN conference is completely linked to that, and it's called the World Food Forum. And it is held in Rome every year around October, November time. And it's all about kind of ensuring that everyone has food security, meaning that there's no one being left hungry, and that we're growing our food sustainably, and that our agriculture or our agri-food systems are becoming more and more sustainable, or we're moving towards more sustainable practices. And given Ireland's history with the famine, Ireland has a huge role at this conference. This year, the president Michael D. Higgins was there as well, so I had the honor of meeting him for my first time. So that was really nice. And then there was youth delegates from Ireland, from different agriculture backgrounds, and then just youth delegates from across the world as well. And I got to speak at a few different events as well, and it was really interesting. It's such an important event because agriculture is so important, and agriculture is such a huge thing in Ireland. So it's about how we should involve more young people in kind of the policy aspect of it. Throughout my kind of role as well, I got up to a lot of different national events as well. So like today, I'm speaking to you guys about my role, about the Sustainable Development Goals. So I got the opportunity to do that quite a lot last year, going around to different schools, and it was something that I really enjoyed because it can really give that extra kind of, it can give someone that might have not known about the Sustainable Development Goals or might have not known about a certain opportunity. Once they hear that, they might get involved with themselves, and that might start their journey. And if not, they learn something new, and that's the most important thing. So I really got the opportunity to really get involved with lots of different national events last year. So what SDGs, what Sustainable Development Goals am I passionate about? So I've kind of touched on these already, but I'm going to go into them into more detail. So we have reduced inequalities. So this addresses inequalities within and among countries. And essentially it just means that we're all equal and there's no inequalities based on your age, your gender, if you have a disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic, or any other status within a country. So it's essentially all about equality. And you might have seen this yourselves, or you might see it a lot in the news now, how there is a lot more racism in our societies now. So this is a huge one for me, and kind of trying to address racism and tackling racism as well. So this is something I heavily worked on throughout my year as the UN Youth Delegate at the United Nations, and both kind of in Ireland as well, creating awareness of kind of my experiences. So this is one that's really important to me. And then quality education is extremely important. This is quality education is one that Ireland is probably doing the best at, from all the sustainable developments. It's one of the top ones anyways, especially with the introduction of kind of free school books for primary school kids, and it's like for junior cert as well now. But essentially it's to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And within quality education, something I have advocated a lot for is the introduction of the Sustainable Development Goals into our curriculums or into our secondary schools. When I was in secondary school, which wasn't that long ago, I didn't get the opportunity to learn about the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm trying to kind of advocate for more of that. And I don't think, for me as a young person, I always say that it shouldn't be an extra added task for us because we already have so much going on. I think because they're so broad, they can really be incorporated into the subjects that we're already doing. Um, like science, if you're doing geography, like they're so broad, so they can really be incorporated into our different curriculums. And we are starting to see that more and more now. We're seeing positive steps in the right direction, which is nice to see. But I'd like to highlight like quality education for us might mean something very different to a young person in the global south. For them, they might not even have the opportunity to go to school, and for them, quality education would just be sitting in a classroom and being able to learn something. So we are all quite lucky to be being able to receive an education, because there's so many young people out there that don't get that opportunity, and I'm going to kind of give you some figures about that later on in the presentation. Or I think that's next up, yeah. So because of the pandemic, we did fall behind on a lot of things, like I mentioned before. But by 2030, if we don't get on top of our games with these goals as kind of the globe, all the countries in the world, there'll be 84 million children and young people out of school. And then 300 million students will lack basic numeracy and literacy skills, so basic writing and like math skills. So these are just some of the data, and I think the bottom point is really important, that primary and secondary school completion rates are rising, but the pace is slow and even. So in Ireland, it's quite good, but in another country, schools might not, going to school might be a luxury essentially. So it's always important to keep that in mind that our situation might be very different to a young person in another country. So there's just some figures that I wanted to share that to get you guys thinking. But I have a little exercise for you guys now. You can kind of discuss it with the person beside you. I can't see the chat, but you're more than welcome to put what you guys think in the chat as well. But it's about intersecting sustainable development goals, or how the sustainable development goals are all linked. So if we're falling behind on one of them, it's going to lead to us not achieving one. For example, zero hunger. If we don't achieve that, we're never going to achieve SDG 1, which is no poverty. So I want you to think, sometimes it might be more than two, but I picked two for each kind of heading. So deforestation leading to the extinction of species. I want you to think of two sustainable development goals that this kind of links into. So what does cutting down of trees, and which has led to the extinction of an insect or an animal that was living there. And what two SDGs is that related to? I'll give you like 30 seconds to have a think about it. If you want to put it in the chat, you're more than welcome to. And then after 30 seconds, I will tell you kind of what I had down. The two sustainable development goals that I thought went really well with this, or that were related to this. So the two that I thought went really well, or that were related to this, is SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. So essentially that means that we're mindful of our usage, so that we're not buying too much clothes, buying too much food when we don't need it, because then it's just going to waste. So that's really important. And deforestation, that links in directly with the deforestation. We're cutting down so many trees. So many trees are cut down every day when they don't need to be. So it's important that we are all responsible, even in our own lives, with the energy we use, with the kind of clothes we're buying, food as well. So that one links in with the deforestation. And then SDG 15 is life on land. And that links in with the extinction of species. So the next one is plastic pollution in the ocean killing sea life. So what do you think? What two SDGs do you think will go with that? And I'll go back to the page with all the sustainable development goals so you can have a look as well.
We had one school come in and say 14, so that is life below water. We had two people come in with life below water.
Yeah, so life below water is definitely one of them. And again, another one is responsible consumption and production. Um, we are and we are using so much plastic every day, and it's all ending up in places it shouldn't be. So that's why SDG 12 is there again. We need to be responsible with our consumption of plastic and the production of plastic. We're producing so much plastic when it's not needed. I'm sure you guys have bought something from a shop and you thought to yourself, there was no need for that much wrapping to be on this product or on whatever food item or fruit that you bought. And then SDG 14, like you guys have mentioned, like below water, definitely. So there's one more, and that is moving away from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. So what two SDGs do you think would be linked to that kind of heading? And I'll go back again so you can see all the SDGs. So that's moving away from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources.
We have someone typing, so just one sec.
Yeah, no worries.
the SDG 7, so affordable and clean energy.
Yeah, definitely.
And also
So
responsible production and consumption.
yeah, that definitely ties into it as well. The two I picked was affordable and clean energy and SDG 13 climate action, but definitely SDG 12 again links into it as well. So like when you really think about it, there's so many that link in with each other, and this exercise was to really show you how interlinked all the sustainable development goals are. So for this one, I said affordable SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, and then SDG 13 climate action, because we are taking action against climate change, and we're trying to move away from fossil fuels. But again, there's no wrong answers here. SDG 12 could very much be here as well, and there's so many different SDGs that you can link into this. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. But thank you. That was kind of a quick interactive exercise I wanted to do with you to get you thinking. So this is just a quote from the Secretary General of the United Nations, and the Secretary General is essentially the highest person at the UN. And the future, and they basically said the future of humanity and our planet lies in our hands. It lies also in the hands of today's younger generation, who will pass the torch to future generations. So we are the future generation. We are all going to be the next decision makers, politicians, leaders. So it's important that we are educated about the sustainable development goals, and we have a lot of pressure. We are being left behind, essentially a very broken planet. So it's our job as young people and the future generation to try our best to kind of fix that and ensure that we are leaving behind a sustainable and just planet for all the younger, for all the generations that will come after us as well. Um, so these are just some figures. There are 1.8 billion young people in age 10 to 24 in the world right now. There's close to 90% of the world's youth live in developing countries. 74 million youth are unemployed. Um, and of the 8.4 million votes in the My World survey, 56% were submitted by 16 to 30-year-olds. So this is just some interesting facts that really get you thinking. And young people have been described as a torchbearer by United Nations leaders, essentially as the tomorrow's leaders. And we have a huge role to play in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals to ensure that we can actually achieve these goals that everyone talks about. Um, so if you want to learn more about the United Nations, there's an amazing resource called United Nations for Kids. In the UN, you tend to use a lot of fancy or flowery language for actually no reason. It's just very complicated language, but it makes it kind of inaccessible at times. But this is an amazing resource that has everything so simplified, and you can learn about the UN Sec General. You can learn about different issues that are linked in with the Sustainable Development Goals. There's so many amazing videos on there as well. So if you are interested and want to learn more about the United Nations, I definitely recommend looking at the UN for Kids website. And lastly, I want to, before we do a quick Q&A, I want to kind of talk to you about what we can all do as young people. What can we do? Um, so I've mentioned some of these already, but I'm gonna kind of go into a little bit more detail about them. So we can reduce our food waste. I think that's quite an obvious one, but sometimes we forget it. Although we are told so many times, there's people that don't have any food. So it's important that what we're consuming, what we're buying, is kind of just for one person or just for the amount that you need. And that goes back to SDG 12 as well, responsible production and consumption. Looking at your shopping habits as well. I'm sure you've heard the term fast fashion as well. You don't want to buy from somewhere that isn't making their clothes very sustainable. So definitely looking at your shopping habits, using public transport as well is really important. Where available, I understand coming from rural Ireland, not public transport is not the best in rural areas or not even available. But definitely when public transport is available, you should definitely avail of it. Educate your family and friends about sustainable development goals. I hope you guys learned something from this presentation about the UN, about sustainable development goals. So now it's your turn to be the educators. It's you guys need to take over from me now and educate your family and friends about the sustainable development goals. To use what you've learned today and throughout the week. I'm sure you guys have learned so much throughout Eco Week. Use all that information to speak to your family about it, speak to your friends that might have kind of been at all these different workshops. I would have loved to have the opportunity to do these workshops while I was in school, so you guys are very lucky. Volunteering in your community, that's a really big one as well. If there's any organizations, there's the local tidy towns in every town as well. You can help out with their weekly or some most tidy towns do like weekly litter picks as well. So volunteering in your community, you can do in your green schools. If you don't have a green schools in your school, definitely setting one up. Even your student council as well. And I think the main thing again is just if you do want to make change, using what you're passionate about or using what you're good at is very important. And don't be afraid to put yourself outside your comfort zone. I think we all have to do that. It's a part of life. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes sometimes, you're putting yourself in shoes that you're not that comfortable with, but you will learn so much. So definitely do not be afraid to put yourself out there. So I think that is all from me. I would be more than happy to take any questions. I hope you guys have some questions for me. But yeah, we have a little Q&A session now before we wrap up.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. We did actually have some questions already come in. So just one is, did you always want to be involved in like politics, or was there like something that sort of drove you to it? I know you mentioned during COVID, but was there anything like maybe around you, like your family, friends, or was it just you just found something and
No, I definitely think aspects of it was kind of my family as well, because growing up there kind of always instilled like these morals into me, like helping other people. I remember like this is such a basic example, but like I remember in my town whenever I went to like grocery shop, like trying to get the trolleys out was really hard. And I just knew how to do it and like just helping. It's such a small thing. But when I was really young, just like helping the older people get their trolleys and stuff. And I worked in Super Value part time for a good while as well. So like just small things growing up, my parents like just different values that my parents instilled. And then I was never really into sports. And then during the pandemic, I just kind of went to the ECO-UNESCO thing, and I was like, oh, I really like this. And I've always wanted to kind of get involved. I never knew I was into politics until I kind of was told about it essentially. But there was always kind of little things when growing up. And I was kind of involved with the Green Schools Committee in my primary school as well. But I never thought that was, or I'd end up where I am today. But like once you get involved and it's something that you really enjoy, you kind of spiral into getting so involved.
and also this might be a personal one for you, but what are you most proud of from your time at the UN?
Um, Most proud of, I think, just being a person of color that was born in Ireland, being able to represent young people in Ireland on an international stage. I think that was very kind of a huge moment for me, being able to sit behind the Ireland, being able to sit behind the Ireland sign. Because it takes years for some, if you're a diplomat, it takes years for someone to be able to do that. So I was very honored to be able to have that opportunity and to show young Irish people, or even young Irish people that look like me as well, that they can too represent Ireland on an international stage, and even just young people across Ireland. I think that was, and being the youngest UN youth delegate in the world was nice as well at 18 years old. So there were moments that I was really proud of, and I think what I really enjoyed doing was what I'm doing today is like doing the grassroots work, just going around schools, speaking to young people across Ireland, about what the United Nations is, about what the Sustainable Development Goals are, and how you, as a young person, can get involved. I really, really enjoyed that as well.
That sort of leads nicely onto another question. So, as a young person, what was the biggest challenge of being at the UN? Like, were you thrown in at the deep end, or did you feel prepared, or?
Definitely, I did not feel prepared. I remember this time last year when I traveled over to New York. It was my first time in America, and it's like during that month, there's a week that all the world leaders come over. So all the presidents from all over the world were there. So like New York was crazy at that time. All the security and all these like motorcades of cars everywhere, and I just felt so much imposter syndrome because although there was other youth delegates, they were all like mostly over 20, a lot older than me, and kind of were in college already, and I was just on a gap year. I just finished my leaving cert. So that was definitely because the UN isn't meant, it isn't a space meant for young people. So I really had to assert my confidence there. Although I felt that way, I was like, young people deserve to be in those spaces, and now that I'm in that space, I need to make sure that my voice is heard. So I did feel like a little bit imposter syndrome, but I made sure that it wouldn't stop my work, or it wouldn't hinder my work of representing young people in Ireland.
Oh, that's amazing. I think no matter what maybe job you go into or anything you try take on in life, you'll always have a form of imposter syndrome. You'll always feel that. So it's good to challenge yourself, put yourself out of that comfort zone, and just push yourself, because you knew you could do it in the end. So that is probably the best thing. Okay, so thank you so much. That was so good. There's so much food for thought as well. Hopefully, with all the young people that have been watching throughout your 2 sessions today, hopefully it inspires someone to take that next step, take that leap of faith. And then for us, I'm just going to finish off just to get involved if you do want to get involved. So we run the Young Environmentalist Awards project. So that's what I run. So it's basically an eco action project for you guys to get involved in and raise awareness about a topic that has to do with the SDGs. So you can check all about that on yea.ie. Then we also have our workshops. So they're either online or in person. People can come out to the school, or you can do it online, whichever is easiest. So if you get in contact with our bookings team, so bookings at ECO-UNESCO.ie. And then for the likes of what Mohammad started with, we have our Youth for Sustainable Development Programme. So these are free. So Youth for Sustainable Development Programme, we have online or in-person 12-week course. So the in-person ones are Maynooth, Drogheda, Galway and Dublin. And then everything else is online. And then our Youth Climate Justice Programme also is just taking off. So that is either online or in person in Dublin as well. So if you guys do have any further questions, let me know. This is being recorded, so hopefully we'll have it up soon for you. And if you have any feedback, I've pinned this in our chat. And then just for the rest of the week, so Friday, tomorrow, one more day left, and we have 2 more sessions. So if you want to join in, those all still on Eventbrite, so you guys can get involved. And I'm just going to finish up because I know we're at 1:15. So thank you so much. Thanks, Mohammad. That was unreal. Really, really good, informative talk. How you can get involved, just even by raising your voice a little bit and trying to get involved in different little aspects. And then also, if you do have any further questions, just email us at info@eco-unesco.ie. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you for our last couple of sessions tomorrow. Bye, guys.